became king of all Egypt, a land called in the early days Kemet, from Kum, which means black, like the dark, rich soil of the Nile flooding. Humans had not yet discovered agriculture and frequently had turned to cannibalism in order to survive. They were a violent, warring lot, and this greatly distressed Isis. She discovered wild wheat and barley, which grew throughout the land. Osiris developed methods of cultivating these as crops and taught humans the art of agriculture. From the barley, he taught them the arts of music and poetry. With every good thing that Osiris and his wife did for the people of the world, Set became more and more envious. The more people loved the God King and his wife, the more Set wanted to destroy them and to take the place of his brother on the throne. Osiris had gone on a long trip to other nations to spread the knowledge of civilization to other people.
If Star Wars is a film made to see your true self, why does it tell some few that they are a part of a modern way to bring back ancient guardians before the world is destroyed, and like the fictional these knights begin learn a real natural force that has always been around, that mankind assume a false history written by ancient Victor, who defeated a group of selfless masters of the Force, with ties back to Egypt's past and far across the world. This unexpected success was hoped to be a cult B-movie, for which the creators struggled through so much to bring it to the people, like no other as ever.
Isis ruled while he was away. When the king returned, Set was among the first to welcome his brother back. But the younger, jealous god had conspired with 72 of his wicked friends to defeat Osiris. Set had obtained the exact dimensions of his older brother and had commissioned the construction of an elaborate box to be made of cedar and ebony, plus gold and ivory. In celebration of his brother's return, Set threw the richest possible feast and invited his most loyal friends. After Osiris had grown relaxed and happy with song, food, and wine, Set brought out the elegant chest he had commissioned. He announced to the crowd that he would give this fine box to whoever would fit inside the chest perfectly. Several of the guests tried to fit within the finely made chest, but some were too short, too tall, too fat, or too thin. Finally, Osiris asked if he could try out the box. As the king hunkered down into the box, all of the guests gathered around in anticipation. Osiris cried out that the fit was snug. "The chest is mine!" Set hissed with glee. "Yes, my brother, and it will be yours forever." With that, Set slammed the lid down, and as many guests as could reach the box helped to nail the lid shut. They sealed every crack with molten lead and tossed the chest into the Nile. The river carried the chest downstream, and it came to rest at the base of a tamarisk tree. Soon, the tree grew around the chest, hiding it from view. The mayor of the town saw that the tree had grown more beautiful than any other and claimed it for himself, not realizing that it contained the body of Osiris. Isis looked far and wide for her husband's body. Following all of the clues, she came to the town where the tamarisk tree grew. Isis, in disguise, went to work for the mayor's wife. While there, she grew fond of their children and offered to make one of them immortal. While she was passing the child through flame to burn away the mortal flesh, the mother attacked Isis, not understanding the great honor the goddess had intended to bestow on her child. Thus, the mayor's child lost its chance at immortality. Suddenly, Isis took off her disguise and revealed her true nature. The mayor and his wife fell down in terror, asking what they could do for the goddess to win her pleasure. Isis asked only for the tree and its contents. When she retrieved her husband's body, she let the mayor and his wife keep the tree, and it became the most prized possession in the town because it had held the physical body of a god. Isis attempted to use her own magic and that of Thoth to restore her husband's form long enough to conceive a son. Before she could finish, Set discovered the body of Osiris and cut it into 14 parts and scattered them up and down the Nile Valley. Again, Isis searched, this time for the various parts of her husband's body. After she had gathered them, she had Thoth help her make her husband whole long enough to acquire his seed. She immediately became pregnant with a son, whom she would come to name Horus. For years, Isis protected her son from discovery by Set and his evil friends. When Horus came of age, he set out to challenge his uncle for the throne of Egypt. The conflict between Horus and Set took many forms. In one instance, both agreed to take the appearance of hippopotami and to fight each other underwater. Isis, fearing for her son, fashioned several harpoons and took flight to throw them at Set. When she threw the first one, Horus cried out, "Mother, stop! You've hit your own son!" After a few minutes of searching, she found Set and threw one harpoon after another. The first several either missed or bounced off. Finally, a harpoon struck Set squarely and wounded him. Set cried out for mercy, and Isis took pity on him. She helped him to the shore and nursed his wounds. When Horus heard what his mother had done, he grew so angry with her that he cut off her head and hid it from her in the desert mountains west of the Nile Valley. Realizing the mistake Horus had made, Ra, the sun god, came to the aid of Isis and helped to restore her head. In addition, he fashioned a crown of a cow's head and horns to give her added protection. Ra then punished Horus for what he had done to his mother. Despite the leniency shown him, Set still wanted to overcome his nephew. While Horus was recovering from the wounds Ra had given him, Set plucked out his eyes so that the young god was suddenly blind. Thoth found a formula from which he fashioned two replacements so that Horus could once see again. In yet another story, Ra commanded the Aeneid, Council of Gods, to ferry to the island of the Middle Ground and to judge between the two opposing sides, Horus and Set. Ra also commanded them to tell Nemti, the ferryman, not to take on as a passenger any woman with the likeness of Isis. So, Horus, Set, and the members of the Aeneid crossed over to the island and attempted to negotiate a peace. Isis, fearing that she and her son would lose to Set, turned herself into an old woman and tempted Nemti with a single gold ring as payment for passage to the island. Once on the island, Isis turned herself into a pretty maiden so that Set would be attracted to her. Set took a break from the meeting to be with the beautiful maiden, and Isis told him that her husband had died and that a stranger had claimed all of her husband's property. The same stranger had threatened to beat her son and to throw him out. She begged Set to become her son's protector. Overcome with sympathy, Set objected to the stranger's attempt to take their property, especially with the son of the former owner still there. Set said the stranger should be beaten with a rod, expelled, and the son be put in his father's position. At that moment, Isis turned herself into a bird and soared upward to alight in an acacia tree. She called out to Set, "Be ashamed! Your own mouth has said it, and your own cleverness has judged you. What more can you say now?" Set became humiliated and protested to Ra how Isis had deceived him. Ra told Set, "See, you have judged yourself. What more do you want then?" Set condemned Nemti and demanded that the ferryman be punished because he had taken Isis to the island. So, Nemti was summoned before the Aeneid, and his toes were removed. And Nemti gave up gold from that day forward. In a final series of battles, Set was ultimately defeated and the members of his forces were scattered across the world.